Years ago, that's when Harvey tore through the Golden Triangle. Hundreds still rebuilding. We're hearing from people still recovering and sharing our story on how 12 News was with you through the entire thing. That is our top story tonight. Good evening, Southeast Texas. I'm Dejanique Garrison. First up, we're taking a look at the FEMA successes and failures. One woman who lives in Lumberton says she was helped pretty quickly. She received money a week after her home was inspected. But for a Silsbee man, it's a whole other story. He had to fight for his FEMA grant money after the storm tore through his house.
People across the street had FEMA trailers. Some of them had two, but we had to make do on our own.
Tonight at 10 on KBMT ABC, we hear why some people were given more money than others and FEMA's explanation behind the process. Digging deeper into those numbers, 12 News reporter Jackie Massey has been covering this story. You've been talking to folks all over, and it's very interesting to see those two different perspectives. Jackie, you were in the storm when this happened, on the front lines when the devastation just started to unfold. Just talk to me about it being a year later and how you're feeling, what you're remembering.
It's pretty hard to believe, but something that really sticks out to me is when I was out in Hampshire and we ran into this man who was going back to his home to get some of his personal belongings because his home was flooded, and he was he let us go with him in his boat, and he took a lot of his clothes. He got to bring out all of his clothes, and he took out a lot of pictures that he, that are very close to his heart. So it was just very intense, being in that situation, seeing someone going through that, at maybe one of their lowest points, but he had a friend that was helping him, and that just really helped him get through it. But it was just amazing because he was just so positive despite going through all of that. But it just really sticks out to me. Like, he let us go with him and experience it, and we helped him as well. It's just, you got to put down the camera and sometimes help them out as well.
Use a little humanity, because we're all human at that point, right? Yeah. Cool. Well, over in Bevel Oaks, the community continues to rebuild a year after Harvey. That is what the city looked like this time last year. Homes were flooded from the torrential rain, and after the storm, people have slowly returned to the community. 12 News reporter Tyler Segerman spent the day in Bevel Oaks, and records show that only half of the population is back in that area.
It was up to my chin level in this house.
12 feet of rain covered hundreds of houses in the city of Bevel Oaks. A year after Harvey, many people haven't returned.
It's just sad to think that our little town that was such a good little town, quiet, and it's good, don't get me wrong, but it's just we've lost the older generation. They're gone. So now we have to start with a newer generation with children.
According to City Hall, only 650 of the 1,300 people who called Bevel Oaks home are back. Even those who have returned struggle with the emotional aftermath of last year's disaster.
Going through all this work, I kind of had detached from my home as a result of having to live away out of it and then making it into just, it's not the same space that it was.
Annette Dantzler wants to put her home on the market. In her neighborhood, many people are still in RVs and FEMA trailers. For some, it's the wait for insurance money, or for contractors.
It's some form of normalcy, and it's going to just take some time to get back to actual normalcy, but being in your own home and not in a rental or an apartment or a hotel or whatever, I mean, you got some form of normalcy.
Others say they're not coming back. Their homes remain untouched and are foreclosed.
It's a hard thing because a lot of people aren't coming back yet. Hopefully Bevel Oaks will come back a little bit stronger, but it'll take about 4 or 5 years, I'm afraid.
A community still feeling the wrath of Harvey and holding on to hope for the future.
I'm believing that it's going to be, like I say, a brand new place to live, and lots of kids running around and lots of joy, and just more of what it used to be.
In Bevel Oaks, Tyler Segerman, 12 News.
Well, there is some good news, though. The community used grant money to build a new playground near City Hall. You see it right there. Also, Martha Votro, who you saw in that package, just received word this morning that she got money to rebuild her Cajun cuisine restaurant. Because of Harvey, all students in Vidor ISD will be able to eat breakfast and lunch for free for the next 4 years. 12 News reporter William Blanchett spoke with parents who are going to save a lot of money.
Parents at Vidor ISD call it a helping hand after Harvey.
It's one less thing we have to worry about.
That's how 5th and 6th grade life skills teacher at Vidor ISD, Mandy Downs, feels about the program. She expects the program will save her a lot of money.
I know as a single parent of 6 children, 4 in the district, that's going to save me close to $10,000.
The Community Eligibility Program from the U.S. Department of Agriculture allows the nation's highest poverty districts and schools to serve all students free breakfast and lunch. And because of Harvey, Vidor ISD has become eligible. This will save one student an average of $565 a year. And for the next 4 years, an average of $2,260.
There's not very many students or families that have not been affected by Harvey.
Vidor ISD says there's still many families displaced from their homes.
Vidor in particular is still rebuilding. We still have 2 schools that are unbuilt.
Vidor isn't alone. Check out this list. 2 charter schools and 9 other Southeast Texas districts also participate in the program.
Oh, I think that's cool.
6th grader Jackson Daniels says he'll enjoy his free breakfast and lunch for the next 4 years. But he says it's something his family really needs after Harvey.
They need a little help because they still got a little bit of things to do to help their house.
Such a cute kid there. So, well, you evacuated for Ike, but Harvey was the first time you were pretty much boots on the ground for a hurricane directly impacted an area you were living in. Just talk to me about what was going through your head.
And where do I start?
Right.
Well, the first day was really surreal because me and Jackie Massey, reporter, we actually got on I-10, and just to see I-10 was totally filled with water. It was just so surreal. We actually had to take a boat to get into the neighborhoods. And at that moment, I started realizing, I was like, wow, this is what it really means to be a reporter.
Absolutely, absolutely. Telling the stories, documenting history.
And it really, not saying we don't do things that are important, but that was a moment a lot of people were broken because they thought they lost everything.
And depending on you guys to be out in the field and let them know what was happening in their neighborhoods, right?
Yeah, and we had to go. Hey, there's a lot of water, didn't matter. We had to find somebody to get a boat and get out there.
Yep, that's the job. Well, today a huge check was presented to Hardin Jefferson Independent School District post-Harvey. It happened this afternoon at Henderson Middle School. Energy gave the district $18,000 to help with storm-related expenses. The district plans to use the donation to replenish supplies. And we're continuing our coverage here on 12 News. 1 year later tomorrow, we're talking about which contractors you can trust. And then Friday, we're looking at how people from all over the nation rally to help Southeast Texas after the storm. All right, no stranger here. One of the folks who, you know, talk about boots on the ground, man. You've been forecasting this since before it came, hunkered down and kept people informed.
Yeah, I was one of the fortunate ones as far as not having any problems.
Absolutely. But I mean, you know, just being here in the studio, we were just here hours on end because this thing was just so surreal.
It just never would die and move out. It just meandered for days. And, you know, I'm still amazed at the 26 inches of rainfall. You're what, 5'3"?
5'5".
5'5", okay, 5'5". Take your shoes off.
All right.
Your beautiful shoes.
All right.
Now, 26 inches. 26 inches fell on this day 1 year ago. Let's put things in perspective. That means that Dejanique would be standing in waist-high water. Can y'all see that?
And so many people were standing in waist-high water.
Some people were
above.
even and above.
And above.
That's right.
Can you imagine?
That's in 1 day. That's in 1 day.
So that doesn't even take into account the rest of the rain that we received because it sat there.
And the rains that we had before. You know, 60. So you're 5'5".
5'5".
Yeah, that water would be. If you took what they found or what they measured in Nederland, that means you would be up to your eyeballs
underwater.
In water.
Underwater.
That's how much water we had.
What a difference a year makes.
Wettest cyclone ever recorded in the U.S.
What a difference. So we lived through that history, and hopefully we won't see it again in our lifetime.
Hopefully we don't repeat it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, We want you guys to join in on the conversation now. Head on over to 12 News Now Facebook page. We are live, and you can tell us what you remember about Harvey, how you're recovering. If you're still waiting on FEMA, anything you want us to know, we want to talk about it. And if you want to read more about the coverage and those statistics that Patrick was just talking about, you can find all of that information on our Facebook page. And be sure to stick with us after the break. We are tracking other stories for you tonight. Coming up, a man's body found in a Beaumont ditch. What we know about the identity. And celebrating what would have been the King of Pop's 60th birthday, the legacy of Michael Jackson. Plus, country superstars making a difference, what Garth Brooks is doing in his free time. Tonight, a disturbing discovery in a Beaumont drainage ditch after a man's body is found in the water off Washington Boulevard and South 23rd Street. That's near the Express Mart. That body has now been identified as 46-year-old Bobby Hodge, whose last known address was in Lumberton. A passerby saw the body around 9 this morning and then called police. BPD says the body looks like it had been in the water for a while. Authorities are still investigating. Lines still stretching around the Arizona State House tonight as thousands gather to say goodbye to Senator John McCain. It's the first of 5 days of tributes and memorials to the war hero and political maverick. Here is a live look right now at the Arizona State Capitol, where there's a viewing for McCain. You see folks are still walking through, paying their respects. Earlier today in a private ceremony, McCain's family gathered with friends and colleagues at the State House. Following the ceremony, his wife Cindy pauses briefly right there, rested her cheek on that coffin. That's definitely gonna be a very, very emotional day for them. Then you saw his children there. Memorials and tributes will continue through the weekend. McCain will make his last trip to Washington after a memorial in Arizona tomorrow. He'll lie in state in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda, followed by a funeral at the National Cathedral. He'll be buried at the U.S. Naval Academy and Cemetery. Singer Taylor Swift is the latest celebrity honoring the Queen of Soul. Yesterday, Swift held a moment of silence at her concert in Detroit for Aretha Franklin. Before the tribute, Swift paused her show to say a few words about the legendary singer. She says, quote, "She did so much for music. She did so much for women's rights. She did so much for civil rights. Words could never, ever describe how many things she did in her lifetime that have made the world a better place." All right, we have to send a special birthday shout out tonight. This would have been Michael Jackson's 60th birthday today. The superstar died in 2009, but he's as popular as ever, thanks in part to a new generation of fans who have come to appreciate his music. He released great songs like Thriller, Billie Jean. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. During his reign as the King of Pop, Jackson struggled with the demands of stardom. He died from an overdose at just 50 years old and left behind 3 children.
I think it was always the drive to be something or to do something. It was always working on creative projects, throwing out ideas, formulating things to come together. And it was just the encouragement that we received growing up to be something bigger and better than you can ever be.
Jackson's life and career are being celebrated today with many events all around the country. All right, a little celeb gossip from rumors that the pair had broken up. A video posted to Instagram by Liam Hemsworth shows that him and Miley Cyrus are still together, and they love to laugh. Hemsworth was driving around in a camo mask when he hit the brakes, making Miley shout and say a few cuss words. If she was in Myrtle Beach, she would have got a ticket, right, Patrick? In frustration, Miley throws her arms in the air, but she still keeps a grin on her face. You gotta keep it fresh. Over the years, there have been a ton of rumors about Mrs. Doubtfire being turned into a musical. Now it's happening. Fox Stage Productions made the announcement yesterday saying Mrs. Doubtfire is such a beloved story. Getting this team together and crafting for the stage has been pure joy. We can't wait to get into production. Now, we aren't sure when everything will start coming together, but we'll keep you posted.
Never seen the movie.
What?
You surprised? It's comedy.
I mean, that's up your alley. You'd like that one.
Have you ever seen Star Trek?
Haven't.
Aliens?
No.
Well, there you go.
All right.
Hey, we got wet weather on the way. Come on back. We'll have your forecast just ahead on 12 News.